Hi guys, welcome back to the recap show. Today's movie recap will cover a 2022 horror thriller movie named Piggy. Sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy. On a bright summer day, a young overweight girl named Sarah sits and watches the cool kids, Pedro, Rochi, Claudia, and Maka, chit-chat a few meters in front of her. A few minutes later, Claudia and Rochi walk over to Sarah's father's butcher to pick off an order. Getting there, Claudia gets her order and leaves with her friend. After they leave, Sarah walks to the cold room and finds out Rochi had taken a picture of their meat shop and posted it online. She fusses over this and throws a fit. Later that afternoon, Pedro rides Claudia to the pool. In the meantime, Sarah and her family have lunch after work. Her mother orders a nonchalant Sarah to go hunting with her dad the next day. After lunch, Sarah leaves the house for the pool. Getting there, she changes into her swimsuit and takes a dive. Unknown to her, her biggest bullies, Rochi, Claudia, and Maka, were nearby. They make fun of her and call a random man who was also in the pool with Sarah her boyfriend. The man ignores the girls, gets out of the pool, and dresses up. The three girls continue bullying Sarah in front of the man who just walks into his van and drives away. When they finish with Sarah, they grab her clothes and run away with them. Sarah's forced to walk through the streets half uncovered as she runs frantically to avoid excessive sunburn. After running a few meters on a deserted road, a car driven by another set of bullies passes by and fiddles with the poor girl's emotions. Thankfully, Sarah manages to escape the guys as she runs into a woody area of the path home. While running, she fails to notice the weird man from earlier terminating Maka, one of the bullies at the pool. He finishes his business with Maka and gets back in his van, which is parked in front of Sarah. As the man enters his van to drive off, Claudia, who appeared to be trapped in the van, cries to Sarah for help. The man gave Sarah a towel in exchange for her silence. This works as Sarah picks up the towel and runs back to town. She makes it home with a towel on and washes herself up. As she takes a shower, her mother comes by and urges her to take some after sun lotion after noticing the sunburns on her body. She cleans herself up and leaves for the shop. There, she spots Pedro outside the shop calling someone. When Pedro spots her, he walks back to his bike. Sarah's father then sends her on an errand to get light bulbs for the store, and she leaves. At the store, Sarah gets uneasy as she feels the weird man following her. She wasn't wrong. She quickly pays the cashier and leaves the store. Outside, she notices the chaos in town. She then meets her mother, who urges her to follow her to the pool to find out what happened there. After a long drive there, Sarah and her mother find out the lifeguard was found deceased under the pool. Sarah gets sick to her stomach as she vomits into the pool. Her mother tells the cops around that Sarah was at the pool earlier during the day. The cops then start questioning her daughter, only to find out about Sarah's bullying problem. Sarah yells at her controlling mother for doing nothing while she gets bullied. Sarah's mom drives herself and her daughter back home. By nightfall, Mom serves Sarah some salad instead of the meat dinner so she can get slimmer. Elsewhere, the weird man is seen terminating Rosa, a waitress who was also reported missing earlier on. After dinner, Sarah's family has some fruit dessert when someone pays them a visit. Elena, Maka's mother, asks Sarah about the whereabouts of her daughter. However, Sarah's mother steps in and defends her daughter, accusing Elena of raising a toxic daughter. Elena keeps questioning Sarah until she's kicked out. Shortly afterward, dinner ends. Sarah's back in her room where she snacks on a half-eaten pastry. After being rested for a few seconds, she walks to her brother's room to ask for her laptop. A few back-and-forth conversations make Sarah realize that she has to use a phone, not a laptop, to find her phone, which Claudia stole back at the pool. To do this, she steals her dad's phone and sneaks out of the house. She makes her way to the woods and starts tracing Claudia's phone. She keeps calling the cell to find it until she hears it ringing in the distance. She picks it up and spots the weird man from earlier. Hearing the sounds from the background, he picks up Sarah to hide out of sight. A few meters away from Sarah's location, Rico, Claudia, and Maka's family arrive on the scene and navigate through the woods to find the girls. Sarah keeps hiding out of sight until she hears someone screaming. Apparently, they found Maka's body nearby and called the cops' attention to the body. Sarah seizes the opportunity to run for dear life. She makes it home and quickly returns her dad's phone before she's discovered. Her mother discovers her anyway and chastises her as usual before shooting her back upstairs. Sarah gets back to her room and listens to some music to calm her mind before pleasing herself with some adult videos. When she's done with her thing, she closes herself up and meets up with Pedro. When they're out of her parents' reach, Pedro asks her what had happened to the girls at the pool. Sarah snaps at him and tells him about her bullying problem. Pedro apologizes for the girls' bad behavior. Sarah takes a puff and coughs violently before following Pedro to another location. Pedro convinces her to spill the beans, but Sarah said she'd do that if they accuse him. Just then, Elena arrives and accuses Sarah of keeping information about the girl's disappearance from the police. Sarah's mother arrives shortly afterwards and prevents Elena from harassing their daughter in the street. A fight breaks out between the two mothers, with residents having to step in to separate both parties. After the fight, Elena is seen at the police station crying over her daughter's disappearance. Meanwhile, Sarah gets interrogated alongside her mother by Juan Carlos and Juan Carlitos, the two partners. Juan Carlitos tries getting some information out of Sarah but gets nothing in the long run. Sarah almost spills the beans, but her mother pulls her out of the interrogation room before she implicates herself any further. Mother and daughter leave the police station immediately and head straight for home. Unknown to them, their home was already getting invaded by the weird man from earlier. He attacks and terminates Sarah's father as mother and daughter arrive. Sarah's mother fails to notice the intruder in the house and chastises Sarah for her behavior instead. She then shows Sarah Claudia's towel and asks Sarah what she did. Before she could get anything out of her daughter, the weird man walks downstairs and knocks Sarah's mother out. He almost gets her brother, but Sarah begs him not to. The weird man takes Sarah out of the house to his van. They meet some bullies outside who make fun of Sarah, only to regret it a minute later. The weird man takes Sarah on a long drive on the highway. They cut corners and get into a road accident, which causes Sarah to get knocked out. By dawn, the weird man finally gets to his place in the middle of nowhere, where he carries Sarah in and lays her down to rest. When she comes to, Sarah checks her surroundings for clues. A few steps later, she finds Claudia and Rochi. Seeing her weird boyfriend was out, she tries her best to untie the girls but couldn't get them out of the chains in time. Frustrated, Sarah contemplates whether or not she should free her enemies from their captivity. While trying to save them, Claudia still blames Sarah for her predicament. Sarah ignores her and tries releasing them. She fails. After several trial and errors, the man gets back from his outing. Sarah rushes to hide from him as he walks back into the room with a plastic bag on him. He calls for Sarah as the girl keeps screaming for dear life. Sarah watches from her hiding place as the man keeps slashing their arms. When he gets his fill, he searches around for Sarah, who keeps running and ducking out of sight. The weird man gets frustrated and searches silently for the obese teen. Amidst her slithering through the gutter, she finds a dead body hidden under plastic. Sarah lets out a scream that makes the weird man find her immediately. Now in the weird man's arms, Sarah begs him to have mercy on her. He pets her, telling her she's fine, and then walks her back to Rochi and Claudia. He unsheaths his knife and puts it in Sarah's hands, urging her to terminate her friends. Sarah turns back to terminate him, but gets stopped midway. Sarah's slapped and thrown on the ground. Claudia kicks the man's head and distracts him for a while. Sarah seizes the opportunity and punctures his stomach with his own knife. The man accidentally pulls the trigger on his shotgun, which cuts Claudia's hands right off. Now injured ghastly, Sarah gets up and wrestles the weird man to the ground. She bites his neck out and uses her weight to her favor. A few fatal blows and bites to the man's neck sends his world going black. Sarah cries as she watches her potential boyfriend go lifeless. Seeing there was nothing to be done about the matter, Sarah picks up the gun and frees the girls, Claudia and Rochi, much to their surprise. She then walks outside the building, leaving Claudia and Rochi lying on the ground with the lifeless man. Sarah walks barefoot around the savannah until she finds the tarmac. She stands in front of an oncoming bike, which turns out to be Pedro, and gets offered a ride back home. Sarah gets on the bike, hangs tight, and gets a free ride back home as the movie ends. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to receive future recaps.